Hi, I'm Christina. Welcome to this episode of Women's Health, Wealth, and Happiness Interviews to Inspire. This episode is sponsored by 1 Minute Calm. Breathe, live, and love the moment that you're in. Our next guest is a remarkable woman whose life journey exemplifies strength, resilience, and giving back. As a young mother, she faced the incredible challenge of caring for a premature baby. With a master's degree in hospital administration and nursing, she made informed decisions that ensured her child's well-being. In terms of wealth, her legacy is one without a glass ceiling, focusing on passive income for generational growth. As a baby boomer, she has diversified her financial portfolio with a 401k, multiple income streams, investments, and roles as a travel agent and health and wellness entrepreneur. Her happiness and fulfillment stem from her remarkable journey as a surviving spouse of cancer. She has successfully transitioned to a blended family, ready to embrace retirement, and devoted herself to community service. Her work includes initiatives like Sleep in Heavenly Peace and church missions in Panama. Please join me in welcoming our next guest, Lynda.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. That was just awesome. Like I said, I feel a little bit larger than life. And yeah, when you look at the little pieces, how they add up, sometimes you don't even realize what you've done and where you've been from and where you're going. And I am happy to say that I have transitioned from the civil service world, the military world, and now I'm an entrepreneur. And I do my other side entrepreneurship is being a travel agent, but I just use that more to help with missions and to give back and, just do the organizational part of it. And every once in a while, do a couple of cruises with friends and family, that's just fun. And so as I'm transitioning in there and learning how to function in, like they say, oh, you're on a fixed income. I'm like, what's that? And being a baby boomer, as you mentioned before, it's gives you a chance to really be involved with the community. And I will say this, as being a Air Force brat and moving every 4 years or less, you always get ants in your pants and you always want to do, move and see things. But it's nice. I've been here in Maryland for almost 20 years now, and to see kids grow up and kind of get more involved in the community and learn the pulse of your friends and your neighbors and stuff, it's a joy. I never had that opportunity. We were like nomads all the times. And when people say, yeah, I've been here for something years and my cousin lives down there and my brother lives over there, I'm like, huh, what does that mean? You don't get that flavor of life. And this way, from retirement and being here, I get that flavor. So I get to learn more about it. I work with an organization called Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and I support the chapter out of Fredericksburg, Maryland. And it means no kid sleeps on the ground. We actually help build beds and deliver them for people for free. All you have to do is go on and ask. And when you see those kids, it's still touches me when they get their own bed and how happy they are. I'm like, oh, it's just a joy to see, that they have something of their own. And can you imagine the difference of their life because they just have a bed? And that's all contributed to the fact that I am an entrepreneur working in health and wellness, and that helps me give back. That's part of why I do my business and help me to grow in different ways too and meet other people. So grew up in Germany at Frankfurt and Rhein-Main and got to travel all over there. It was wonderful. Graduated from the Philippines and was able to do 5 years of mission trips in Panama.
So, Lynda, your health word is family. Is health something that you learned from a young age, or is it something that you learned about in adulthood?
I am definitely going to say it came with adulthood. I'm the typical woman who said, "Oh, I'm the Cinderella girl. I'm gonna get my prince and have my Prince Charming in the nice house, and do everything." And you're like, "Because you did everything you were expected to do, right?" And then reality hits when you end up having a preemie that's a pound and a half. And it wasn't until I was faced with that and the choices I needed to make as a mother, what do I do with this? How do I handle this and not have a meltdown and say, that's not going to help the kid, emotionally or physically. So what can I do? What can I do? And this is where my education helped with my master's in hospital administration and my nursing background. I was able to make some really good choices for him. He was in the NICU in Houston, and he was with a pound and a half. You have to be very slow and methodical about making sure he gets his the lipids, which is the fatty acids that he needs, and then making sure his lungs have the surfactant to expand, because little boys are lazy. They just start breathing. So you have to constantly stimulate the bottoms of their feet. And they go, "Oh, I'm supposed to breathe." Yeah, you're supposed to breathe. So that just makes you a little bit of an anxious mom too, and he was born in the 80s, and later they came to realize that they need to send you home with an apnea machine with the kid to make sure he doesn't stop breathing. So those are little things you had to work through. And I was fortunate enough to get him enrolled in a medical research program when they asked if they could give him a large dose of vitamin E. And I'm like, oh, yeah, because that's nothing that's going to do but goodness to him. And the reason why they were doing part of that program was that as you have preemies, the vessels in their eyes are so delicate, and they're not that strong. And if when you increase the amount of oxygen that they're breathing to help them not have a lot of infections, because their little body cannot handle all of that, then it makes the vessels in their eyes break, and a lot of them end up with blindness. And I was fortunate that he got in the program and he did well. I did have a mother who was next to me, had a little girl, and unfortunately her daughter did go blind from the oxygen and trying to keep the infection. So in one hand, you're grateful, on the other hand, you just feel so helpless that things like that happen. And it's always a learning curve in anything that we learn about when it comes to medical research and the effects to help, us do better. So my knowledge helped me because I knew about the vitamin E and all the goodness it would do, and I did actually try and encourage her to do it, but she was very hesitant and she didn't want to. So yeah, it kind of hurts your heart that those things happen. And that's why you have NICUs all the time and intensive care units for little kids, for baby kids, because it's a struggle. They struggle for life when they come that early, and don't have time to really mature in your body before they come. So, and lots of times you're not aware that you have any problems until you get pregnant. And then the prayers of making sure it's happy, making sure it's whole, 10 toes, 10 fingers, and eyes, and all the things that we think about that we take for granted. It's a struggle when you're pregnant. It really is. And we're really grateful and blessed to do that. But that started my role into getting into organic health, into nursing, because there's a limit with what, the medical side of the world does, but then you need to balance that with how to make sure that they develop and have a good quality of life. And one of the things that really I wasn't really aware of when he was small was he was getting the middle ear infections constantly, all the time, and they kept giving more antibiotics, but it wasn't really making it go away. And then he ended up having swimmer's ears, so he wasn't even hearing well. So they ended up putting tubes in his ears so the drainage come in. So then he had to go through learning how to talk with a hearing specialist and a speech therapist, and that was another progress. Whereas I learned the hard way. I'm like, whoop, let's stop with the antibiotics. Let's give them natural things. And with my daughter, I'm like, oh, when she started doing, I gave her natural things that had like echinacea, golden seal, and garlic and stuff that was natural antibiotics. And it cleared it up. And it wasn't the constant back and forth, back and forth. And that was just a learning curve that, I learned from research and studying and having, that medical background. So I'm like, wow, I think organic's a little better in other places. I mean, there's always a point in time for doctors and nurses to be there, but there's also another side of it. There is a quote that says the leaves and the herbs are for the healings of the nations. And there is. If you think about it, most of our time is stuck inside a building, rebreathing the same air. We don't even get time to go out to walk in the grass with no shoes on and get grounded. We don't get enough vitamin D from being out in the sun. I mean, natural little things that, was been around forever, we don't take advantage of. Like going for a walk. A lot of the other countries, European countries, people walk all the time. Not us. It's like, get in the car. How fast can I go home? I need to go pick up this time. I need to go over here. I need to pick up food. I need to do dinner. I need to get ready for the next day. It's like a never-ending story. And we really need to take time, as they say, and smell the roses. It really makes a whole lot of difference to just walking in the gardens and going barefoot and, really sitting and having time with family. And so that's one of the things that I really like about health. And I, the Shackley organization gives me that privilege to be able to do that and give back and help educate other people to know why I love Shackley and what it helps me do. So it's wonderful that I can help do that and give back.
In your upbringing with your parents having different backgrounds, what kind of health things were they or weren't they interested in?
Yeah, that's a good question because my mother is from Barbados in the West Indies. My dad was an American Indian. He's a Chet Indian. So he grew up in the South. So we learned to eat all that wonderful Southern food, the rich potatoes and fried chicken and the cornbread and all the other that comfort food, and then we learned from my mother's side of how she made like a natural breads and stuff from scratch. But those were treats to us. She didn't, because she was trying to learn American ways and fit in. And so it was a learning curve. So I just thought, hey, we have great food. But then, as you grow up and into your adult life, you're like, whoa, wait a minute. And then I'm like, hey, I heard my great grandmother's got diabetes, but it's not where she has to get insulin shots, but she makes a concoction with, garlic and stuff and eats her little small meals and she's fine. I'm like, wow, when you hear about that, and if you kind of think about it, living by the sea and stuff, if you ever got sick and stuff, they tell you go to the ocean. That's the first thing we put in your bodies. When you walk in, we give you an IV. What's in the IV? Normal saline, salt water. It heals, it helps, it hydrates you. It does a lot of different things. So there's a lot of natural things around you when you really realize how much it affects you when you're breathing in that salt air, walking in on the beaches, there's a reason that you do that and how you come back so refreshed. Just learning those different aspects of it. And then as an adult with a preemie baby, I really got into the research and changed my diet. I raised them as vegetarians. I did. And then as they got over, they made their own choices. But then, my daughter went back to being even vegan. I'm also vegan, but my he's still carnivorous and it's okay. But he doesn't, just stays with his chickens more so, and there's moderation in everything. And if you can balance that out and know you and take nutritional vitamins and make sure you're getting enough protein and staying hydrated, that's the biggest thing in the world, is staying hydrated and making sure your body has the nutrient it needs to get you the oxygen you need and get your organs well maintained. And so, yeah, I had to learn that. And you don't know what you don't know. And then once you learn it, it's just about sharing and educating others of how it makes a difference in them, and seeing different ways of healing and growth and just a better quality of life, just from nutrition and non-toxic environment. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful because there's so many more articles and so many more things that one can learn about, even how the poisons in the air that we don't even know that we're breathing. But
Right.
what kind of advice would you give for someone who says, you know what, I'm getting concerned about my family. I want to get on the path to something better, a healthier family life. What kind of advice would you give to someone?
My biggest advice is take time to do a little bit of research. Look at the nutrition that you're eating, examine the foods and the quality of the foods that you're getting. Yeah, little bitty changes like adding more raw organic vegetables. I know when people say organic, but it's so pricey. I can hardly afford it. But if you look at the amount of money that you pay for those meats and channel some of that back into healthy organic stuff that that doesn't have the pesticides and herbicides and all the stuff in it, that's not giving you reactions in your body, that would be the first little thing. Make those little baby steps. Look at what you're eating. Try to do as much organic as you can. And I'm going to shout out Costco in a heartbeat, because they have a lot of organic products that you can get in a bulk amount that you can really help strategize how you can take your money and do things a little bit differently and live a little bit of a healthier life. And with those baby steps, get organic. And I'm going to say Shackley is another avenue for you to use because of our guarantee of the scientific research that goes behind that. We have to live with viruses. You're never going to get rid of them. That's just part of our makeup being on this earth. But to not make them react to your body and make you get into the sick care instead of staying in the well care, if you do that preventive medicine and really just change the little things, it'll make all the difference in the world. And that would be my advice to you, is just start with little small things and try to incorporate as much organic as you can.
Lynda, your wealth word is legacy. Tell us a little bit more about why you chose that word.
I chose the word legacy, and that because when you're working and you have a family and you are just concerned of what you're leaving behind, you always want to leave something that'll make life a little bit better for those who come behind you. And your legacy, to me, when it comes to wealth, is having passive income continue generationally if you choose to do it. And Shackley gives me that opportunity as an entrepreneur and a business builder. I get to make an income that I can use to give back to the community, to help give other people quality of life. And it's something that I can pass on from generation to generation from generation. And to me, that's very satisfying that you can stay home and raise your kids if you choose. You can have additional income if you choose. You can have a good quality of life with that extra income that helps you. And you can give more back to the community and be more ingrained with the community and help your area grow more and be more healthy and just give everybody else the benefit of having that legacy of passive income, because you're not restricted to outside commercial jobs that they may be here and then they're gone because the environment or the economy or whatever you want to call it the companies don't stay around. And this is your, let's say, your plan B. You can have investments, you can do a whole bunch of other things, but if you have something that's tangible that continues to grow and is there on the long run, that's a legacy you just can't give up. And that's just a small part of it. I mean, the income is good. But it's also being able to teach them the love and the servitude of others and what that entails. That's all about that legacy, the life you lead, how you educate them, how you help them to see that there's always people who need help. It's not all about you and your world. It's what you do to make it a better world around you.
And I love you said not hitting a glass ceiling. Tell me more about this.
The glass ceiling for women, let's be honest, that we never made amount of money that the men do because they say we're supposed to be on an equal level. But in reality, they're in the workforce from the time they're young until they're old. We come in and out because of our families, our children, and we have a different flexibility of life as a woman. And so not having a glass ceiling means I can go as far as I want. If I choose to be at the top of the level in Shackley and be a presidential master, that's all up to me. Nothing can stop you. It's the choices that you make and where you want to go. So nobody's saying, hey, you're not going to get promoted today. Sorry, we already promoted these 5 people and next time. Or they dangle that carrot, and then when you get the carrot, no, we've changed the rules. So that no glass ceiling is wonderful, being in Shackley and being your own business person. It's up to you how much you want to make, how far you want to go. There is no glass. And it's wonderful to embrace that kind of, just that different kind of feeling and what it does to you. It's like, hey, okay, I sat on my laurels for like 7 years. It's time to make a difference and move forward. I want to make more money now. I want to be able to give back more. And then when I look at it, when I'm not progressing, who am I hurting? I'm hurting those kids out there that I could give more to. I'm hurting other women who's trying so hard to live a better quality of life. So that's what makes me push. That's what makes me want to do better. That's what makes me want to go forward. And nothing can stop me. It doesn't matter where you come from, who you are. It's a choice. And once you make that choice, there's no limitations.
And on your personal legacy from your whole life, from your parents, your time in the Navy, hospital administration, and the huge resume that you have created, what legacy would you like to leave behind for your children?
The legacy I want to leave behind is that family's important. Nobody's perfect, but make good choices that you can be proud of yourself. So whenever it's time for you to go to rest, you can be happy knowing that you gave something and you left something to make this world just a little bit better from you being in here. Everybody in this world is here for a purpose. And you don't sometimes believe it, but the way you touch another person's life and the people that come into your life, those are legacies of what you can share with them just to encourage them and to support them. That makes all the difference in the world to them. And just being an Air Force brat and moving around all the time, it's phenomenal to be able to live in different parts of the world in the different countries. And I was fortunate. I graduated from the Philippines, and when Vietnam and all the craziness was going on, and I was happy working as a candy striper, just sitting there talking to the soldiers, giving them, water or magazines or just encouraging, watching them sew up and take scrapnel out of those men right there in front of you. They didn't even take them to surgery. They just numbed the area and started pulling out stuff. And you're like, just, wow. There's so much sacrifice that people do for us. There's so much that they give that you don't even know. And so that's what I say. Just make good quality choices. Learn as you grow and grow from your mistakes and, brush it off and just keep going and just give back. Just give back. That is the one word I can say. Give.
Hi, I'm Sylvia Tourstein. Health, wealth, and happiness. Wealth. Spending half of your vacation budget on the cabana so that you can have total privacy for 20 people. Well, actually 30. Or just yourself. But you know what? You got a TV, they have the bartender service and food service that comes right here. I hope they have a foot massage too, because let me tell you, after walking around in this water park, woo, my tootsies, waterlogged. I'm Sylvia saying, you know what? Treat yourself to some luxury in your life. That can be wealth.
Lynda, your happiness word is sustainment. I would love to hear a little bit about this because it's such a strong word.
It is. And the reason why I chose the word sustainment is, I became a single mother at a very early age when my husband passed from cancer. And it's hard seeing them deteriorate. It's hard seeing them go through chemo and radiation and all the things because that's all they know and that's all the doctor knows and that's what they do. And the alternative medicines and stuff are not around or they don't believe in it or whatever. And being a single parent and going through that and then getting remarried to a blended family, that's another way of having to cope. So sustainment means that I can weather these storms. I can get back onto the road of having joy in my life and happiness again. And then seeing my kids flourish and have their own kids. That's sustainability because the family still is intact. They're still growing. And you get to go to the different stages of life and see that, no matter what you go through, for every door that's closed, I can emphatically say that God opens a better door for me. And with the loss of my husband, I'm like, my daughter was barely 7 years old at that time. And everything you do, everywhere you go, you have like a appendage to you. Everything you do has to include that child, and you just want to do the best. And I will say this very quickly. I prayed for this husband and I asked God to give me somebody who was very active in the church. And 2 or 3 years before that, I made a list. I said, Lord, you promised me more kids. And I want my Joshua and I want my Sarah because I said Joshua went and possessed the land and did what the Lord said, and he blessed him tremendously. My grandmother's name was Sarah, and I wanted somebody to be named after her, and then the story of Sarah through the Bible. So I prayed for these unknown kids forever, right? And then I decided to go online to one of the dating services. And so I got online and I said, oh, let's just do this for fun. And I met my husband online, my second husband. And guess what? His two kids were named Sarah and Joshua. I'm like, what's the odds? What are the odds? That's nothing but a God wink that I prayed for. So that to me is so much stability. I have a really good foundation that I can grow from. And I have wonderful people around me that grow with me and encourage me and sustain us both. And just that's why sustainability is the foundational word. And if you have that, you can weather so many storms and still see that there's light at the end of the tunnel and get those warm fuzzies and have that joy in your heart. So yeah, it's a word that I will always carry with me.
How did you get your children through the tough period of losing their father and then prepare them for a new family?
That's a really good question. I was fortunate. We had moved from Kelly Air Force Base because it was shut down in Brack. So I moved up to Tinker Air Force Base. And so I was working at Tinker, both of us were. So when he transitioned, because of the buildings that were blown up in Oklahoma, I can't remember the term right now, they had all these grief sessions in place. So I was fortunate to get her into a grief session where they did play acting and help her deal with that a lot. And then me as a spouse had to go to the adult side. And one of the things I saw was so many adults that when their husbands or wives passed, they had no place to go. Some of them had to move back in with their parents, and disrupt their kids' life again and put them in new schools and start that, and losing their friends and everything. And I'm like, wow, a lot of them didn't even have a community to help encourage them and help them get over that. I was very, very unfortunate. I had it all. So being there, my pastor at the time says, if you don't mind, can I help your daughter go through this? So every Sunday they used to go to IHOP. That was their time together. And he took her back to IHOP, and that gave me time to be in my garden and do other things. So that just helped her transition because he took her there. And the waitresses knew them so much. She says, well, where's your dad? And, the tears would come down, and she would look at him, and she would look at the past, and the pastor says, you know what? He's just not here anymore. And I'm just taking his place for a while. And then, the school would let me know that sometimes she would have meltdowns. And she said we would just comfort her and let her get through it. And it was a learning curve. I mean, I was thinking that, with the blended family, it's always touch and go because you don't know what's really in their hearts. My husband was a widow for 19 years. I was a widow for 4 years. So he had a very, very long space because his wife died in childbirth. So Sarah never even knew her mother. Okay. But my mother-in-law, God love that woman. I loved her to pieces. I had the best mother-in-law ever, ever. She died at 90, going on 95, which she transitioned this February. And it was so good that she just stepped in and she helped raise those kids. So, and we were very close. I loved her to death. And that helped. I mean, let's be honest. Everything is not, everything is not all roses. There's a lot of thorns in there with those roses, and you just weather it the best you can, educate, get support and encouragement, and a lot of prayer. They say it takes a village to raise a kid. It is so true. It is very, very true.
Lynda, if you could give the gift of health, wealth, or happiness, which gift would you give and why?
I would give health, because without your health, you can't have your wealth. You can't have your happiness when you're so focused on yourself and the debilitation that goes with not being in a wellness part and being in sick care. So health to me would just gives you all the other pieces. And happiness, there's happiness in so many different ways. It's the joy that brings you happiness. It's the peace, the non-stress, the calm life, and being able to weather the storms. All that is part of joy and happiness. And the wealth, that comes and it goes, but being able to have your health affords you for that wealth. And then you even appreciate it more because it helps you give, and it helps you give more, and helps you give back, and it helps that cycle to continue. Because the wealth is meant to be shared. You are blessed to have your health to get that wealth. So that would be my gift, would be the one word, would be health.
So Lynda, here's our question from our previous guest.
What would the advice be that you would give to yourself at 20?
Wow, what an awesome question. What advice would I give my 20-year-old self? To take more time to enjoy my sisters, my brother, and friends around me. Being a military brat, you were always, like I said, moving a lot. You never got to really get roots in anywhere. So as a 20-year-old, I left the Philippines and went to college because I got a scholarship on my own. And being away from family and separation anxiety, wow. You kind of do a little bit of things you wouldn't even think about doing because your parents aren't around. So let's be honest. And so I would take more time to really appreciate my family and, and really be thankful a little bit more and have a little bit more gratitude and realize that 20s is it's a time of growing. It's a time of experimental. It's a time of reinventing yourself, but it's also a time of putting down some solid foundations that, will weather all the storms. So I would definitely say gratitude and appreciation of family.
Lynda, I have learned so much about you, about your wellness journey, about your family. Thank you so much for sharing with me and with all of our guests watching today. What a remarkable journey that you have had.
I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be here and to share with others. And I just hope that something resonates with you and your guest, and that they can see that through my life that, it's not always a bed of roses, but even with not having a bed of roses, the petals give you a lot of growth and aroma that relaxes you to continue to grow. And that's what it's all about. Grow, leave a legacy, give back, and when it's all said and done, you can be proud of what you did. So thank you again for inviting me. Much appreciated. We went from Panama into David, and from the David to the Chiriquí and the Buble Indians up in the mountains. We had no water, no electricity, because they wouldn't let the government drill on their land to mine it for gold and copper. So they said, okay, well, we're not going to give you electricity and water. You're on your own. So we got to go up there and build a couple of dorms, one for the girls, one for the boys. We helped build a lunchroom for them and make benches for them, give them a shower, and we got to put cisterns up there, run by what do you call it, solar power. So they had a solar little refrigerator. Can you believe that? A solar powered refrigerator. They had enough water where even if we gave them dried beans and stuff, they're like, look, do you know how much it is to make boiled rice and to make beans, not even thinking about the amount of water it takes? Like, wow. She said, we can only do that once a week. And I'm like, wow. And then, they have the tropical fruits and stuff around them, but that doesn't give them the proteins and stuff they need all the time. And they try to have their little chickens and eggs, and those kids were so happy just to have a little soccer ball. It's a big deal to them, and to play and I was just privileged to be a part of the medical team, and we saw over 750 patients within 2-3 days. Wow. And the biggest thing we gave was, believe it or not, was vitamins and stuff to get out of the parasites out of their bodies, and deworm them and stuff like that. And I'd always ask them, how much water have you taken? Oh, I drink a lot of water. What's a lot of water? I had a glass of water right before I came here. So I would tell my interpreter, I said, hey, Everybody who comes in here and talks to me, you make sure they have 3 glasses of water before they leave. 3. And they're very, very humble, beautiful people. The girl cannot come in without a parent, a mother, or the father or something. You don't know. Those kids are not going anywhere unless they have good supervision with them. And, and some of them, hey, the elderly people, they just wanted glasses, because their vision and stuff around. And, the story that over the river and through the woods to grandmother's house we go. I'm like, we did that. Oh my gosh, we did that. Here we are. I'm in steel toe boots, walking in the jungle, and the other kids are passing you by in flip-flops. No big deal. We're generally walking over the water, going under barbed wire fence and going way out because one of the ladies who helped prepare our food asked if we could come and help her dad. And her dad couldn't hear because they live and sleep outside and they have their little wood house, the little huts and stuff. And come to find out, it was just that his ears needed cleaning out. So as we were cleaning his ears out, all the dirt and stuff from just, the wind, the air, the string. And he's like, wow, I can hear now.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, like, just because we took a little syringe and just cleaned out his ears.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And then we get to leave them with more vitamins and nutritions. And then the public health people come in and give them their shots and whatever else. And lots of people come in and do dental work and stuff like that. And of course, hey, that's another problem because they get into the Western medicine and like the Western ways of life, not medicine. They love those Cokes and all that. And it just deteriorates your teeth and stuff. And so, yeah.
It's easier to get Coke than it is water.
Right.
Yeah.
And you see little kids on their hips drinking bottles of Coke. Not really good for them. But so that's where education comes in, and they live by the water just like anybody else. They wash their clothes there, they do everything. They have to be by the water. Well, the water is not all that clean. And so we've learned, and we drilled and put a well in there, and then we have different organization that comes to make sure the well continues to go. And so, and with the cisterns that are big enough, that's an outreach to the whole community, because they know they can come to the church, school, or whatever, and that they can be able to get fresh water and stuff. Things we just take so easily for granted that we go and just turn a faucet on. It's amazing. So it gives you a different appreciation. It really does. If that's one other thing I could always recommend, if you have the time, please invest in your kids. Let them go to a mission trip. Just once in their life. It will just really, really do a different mindset for them.